to go back to 2017. You were on Jimmy Fallon, and you said you had suburban panic disorder.
Yes, that shit's real. Well, I created it and diagnosed myself with it. I think being a city person for 48 years, I'm just so used to sirens that I prefer them to crickets. And when I have to spend a night in the suburbs or even something more rural, the quiet stresses me out. I am so much more wired for an urban environment. So I definitely think suburban panic disorder is real because the sort of seed of it is that before Uber, I never knew how I was going to get home. So if I was in a city, say San Francisco, and I went to a party across the bridge, and you used to, in the olden days, you'd have to call a cab company and they would say like, okay, car 318 in 47 minutes. And like, just hearing that right now gives me a full panic because I just felt like if I went somewhere, I didn't know how I was getting home.
Okay.
And I still have that. Like if we somehow have a wedding or something and there's no shuttle bus or whatever it is, I feel like I need to know how the fuck I'm getting back.
You have this character, Danielle with a Z. Is that how you say it?
Yeah, it's Danielle.
Okay. Where did she come from?
So that was a character I did in a one-woman show in Williamstown Theater Festival that then went to the Carlisle. It was a heavy metal cabaret called Stairway to Cabaret where I did covers of 80s metal bands, but sort of reappropriated as a middle-aged female. So Girls, 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 17 by Winger, which is like an anthem of statutory rape. And I had a 17-year-old at the time. And the whole thing was so twisted and fucked up and crazy. But so I just wanted to like take that power back and do this show. And then, between the songs, I had these like characters and Danielle was one of them. And basically during COVID, a bunch of my friends were having a really hard time and they felt very locked down. And most of them have had younger children. I feel bad saying this, but I had a great COVID because I have older kids. But if I had had little kids, I would have been in a mental asylum. I don't know how young mothers got through that 2 years. I just don't know. Because I had 3 kids in 4 years, and those were the hardest years of my life without a pandemic. And talk about mental health. Like that is such a hard just mire that you feel like tits deep in chaos and you're never gonna climb out of it. And every day you're kind of combat crawling through all these things. And even though you're #blessed, then that's almost worse because you feel guilty about feeling overwhelmed. So a bunch of my friends were like really depressed during COVID. So to cheer them up, I did like a little Danielle text videos. And one of them said, like, you have to post this. So I did. And then I realized, I guess people just wanted someone to go off on whatever. It was like a funhouse mirror reflecting the chaos of the moment. Yeah. Being in an unprecedented time. So I just kept posting it. It was more just being silly and like goofing around and doing something every day that felt like creative, even if it was stupid. Yeah.
Would you say that you do like a lot of characters?
Yes, all day long. I have like character Tourette's. I do accents all the time and all that. Okay, so my husband does that too. And he would say that I am probably his hardest laugh to get. So like. That's funny. Yeah. It's kind of the way. My husband says the same thing,
What about do your kids like it? Like what are their thoughts on these like characters or
I think they're all pretty used to it. Okay. But they like it because ma mère est française, alors I can do a French person trying to speak English and trying to get the words. Or like Italian, I also have a family in Italy. My grandmother was born in Milano, so I like doing the different, or like my character from Eastern Europe who was Slovenian and knew Melania Trump back in home country. So like they like it when I'm abroad because I have an ear so I can speak the language. Not Slovenian, but French and Italian. So they like it because they feel like we can go in a restaurant, we don't seem like Americans because I can say,
oh, that's so
abbiamo una riservazione al nome di Kargman, and they feel like we're not American obnoxious people that the whole world hates. We can like blend a little because of mom.
I want to talk a little bit about you were diagnosed with melanoma in your 30s.
Yes.
And I read somewhere that you said that it really had an impact on sort of the way you felt about your body and how like it wasn't yours. And I'm wondering how that impacted like your self-identity and self-worth and what that was like for you.
You know, the melanoma diagnosis was the first thing that I had, but what wound up happening, so I had stage 3 melanoma. I have a foot-long scar, and I have another scar in like my box. They took all the lymph nodes out of my badge. Fun. So I was in a wheelchair for 6 weeks, and that weirdly was not a big identity shift at all, but it triggered me to get genetic testing. So I got the genetic testing, and then 7 years later, I was fine that whole time. I had one other melanoma, but it was in situ, very small. 7 years later, I had a lump in my boob, and they said it's stage 0, tiny, like in situ. We'll take it right out. Lumpectomy. You're home in your own bed. Weirdly, the genetic testing from the melanoma revealed that I have CHK2, which is a gene that also can be a harbinger for breast cancer. It raises your chances by 60% versus BRCA, which is 85% chance you'll get it. So I said, fuck the lumpectomy, I'm getting a double mastectomy. Like, I didn't even think about it. People said, like, that must have been a really hard choice for you. And I said, not for me.
Yeah.
Not at all. So that was one that threw my identity more into just, it was such a change because suddenly, first of all, I had 3 surgeries because you have the spacers, then I had a second surgery, then they recalled those implants and I did other implants. But that was weird for me because I actually like saggy boobs. I think like natural boobs are more European and sexy. And I think fake boobs are kind of tacky. It makes me think of like the Playboy girls, you know, it's just not, I think of it as cheese.
Yeah.
And in fact, I realized how judgy I was because I would always go, we ski, we're like a ski, I don't go to beaches, I hate the sun, but I love to ski. It's my only sport. I'm the worst athlete of all time, but I love to ski. So afterwards we'd be in the hot tub and I would see all the LA women with their bathing suits with their big fake tits, and I just thought like, you're such a fucking whore. Like, that's just gross. You look so cheap.
Yeah.
And I liked my natural boobs, and now I look like them. And so I'm like, someone's gonna see me in a jacuzzi and think I did this on purpose, and I didn't. So that was where my identity, it like fucked up a lot about that.
Yeah.
Also, I love my clothes. I mean, I'm wearing like a Levi's schmata right now, but I have good clothes. And when you have real boobs, you can smash them down to zip. You know, Harry will sometimes, especially if I'm in my period, I'll be like, yeah. And your boobs can smash. Whereas now they're like these balloons and you can't. So I had to sell a ton of shit that I loved.
Yeah.
So that was much more of a bummer in terms of body stuff. But you know what, like, I don't care, I'm alive. And I really think by now at 48, that gene would have caught up with me because my mom's entire family, my grandmother was dead by my age at 47 from breast cancer. My mom's sister died at 50, you know, it's all over my family. So I feel like who cares about the dumb clothes? It was just that adjustment, but I never looked back. And I actually think for mental health, I don't understand how people would make the other choice to just like do the lumpectomies and keep doing mammograms, because I used to get what I called scanxiety after my melanoma. They said the type of cell I had likes to travel to the lungs. Even though I've never smoked a cigarette, I was susceptible to lung cancer. So I had these chest x-rays for 5 years.
Okay.
And every time I went, I thought like, today's the day they're gonna tell me you have lung cancer, we found a tumor, whatever. And same with my mammograms. I was always feeling like a time bomb. And now I'm so relaxed. I never have to do another mammogram. And you know, it's whatever that phantom algorithm is, weighing your genetics, weighing your familial history, you also have to weigh your mental health and how you would process every single mammogram and ultrasound for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
To me, it's a no-brainer. I've never looked back.
I guess that's actually a good transition into my next question, which is, you said also, and something that I've read is that being imperfect is good for your health.
Yeah, I think so.
Tell me more about that.
Well, it's funny. I went to my dermatologist and he was doing a mole check and said, you know, that scar's really nasty. Like, it's, you know, they're not plastic surgeons over at Sloan Kettering. Like, they're there to get the cancer out. So I have a very big grizzly scar, and he said, you know, I can treat that. I can laser it and we can make that go away. And I was like, no fucking way. I love this scar. And I was telling a friend of mine who's covered in tattoos, you know, everywhere. And he said he wanted to get one that said, "Nous sommes nos cicatrices." We are our scars. That's what identifies us. Our flaws make us. And I feel like, I mean, even as a little kid, I have so many moles. I have like hundreds of moles all over me, but people would tease me about my moles on my face, and they called me Bambi, because I guess Bambi had spots. And I was like, they're beauty marks. They make you more beautiful. I was just parroting what my mom told me, but I believed it, and I just kind of shut them down, and that was it. And I had done some photo for something, I forget what it was, and they airbrushed them out, and I didn't like having them airbrushed out. There's actually a Roald Dahl short story, The Birthmark, where it's like this beautiful model woman, and she has this one birthmark, and they say like, if they just got rid of it, she'd be perfect, and they get rid of it and she dies. Because it's like her soul is, we are our flaws. That is what makes us. And I just think that's so much more interesting than being perfect anyway. I don't know.
Yeah.
The people that I think are the most beautiful always have something more offbeat and pronounced about them.
Yeah.
I don't want everything perfect, whatever that even means. I think it's so boring.
For sure. And I think that everyone is like, there's things that people are hung up on, of course, like around, maybe it's their body or something around it. But then, you know, obviously with like beauty standards and even like Eurocentric beauty standards that have like been put upon us for like years and years, people are constantly wanting to cover up or go under the knife or do something like that. And that's like really refreshing that you.
Oh yeah, I'm all about just getting to the balsamic reduction of you know?
Yeah.
Why be someone else? That's so boring. I feel like that so many people dilute who they are to assimilate and be whatever that cultural standard is, and I think then you're just nothing. It's you're water. You're nothing. You want to be like that serum.
Yes. Yes. I'm wondering if there's any like ongoing stressor or like anxiety that gets to you. Like
I had for years. So I was in therapy from 36 to 40. Okay. Those 4 years, I would say, were the hardest years of my life, because I was coming out of my melanoma thing, and I had these 3 little kids, and I just felt like I was. The phrase that I went when I first went, it's weird that I'm like a Jewish New Yorker and I had not gone to therapy till 36, but I went in there and just burst into tears and said, I feel like I'm drowning in my life. And we kind of talked through it. And I think I was such a sort of strong, secure 28-year-old. And then I had kids, and it sort of shakes the Etch-a-Sketch on everything you've built for yourself. Your whole character feels, everything is kind of out the window in a way. You draw upon who you are, but you're starting over in some aspects, and there's a vulnerability that you have where people can say whatever the fuck they want about me. Yeah. But if they say something to my kid, then you just have this whole new feeling of sensitivity. Yeah. So for example, you know, people call me like an ugly Jew cunt on Instagram. I don't care. But when a kid said something to Fletch, I went bananas. You know, it's like I can't handle my children suffering for being Jewish or something like that. Whereas I'm used to assholes like Kanye West spewing vitriol. It's just like, you're used to it at 48. But with a child, it's so much more heartbreaking. So it was sort of a series of vulnerabilities non-stop for years of different things, you know, whatever, even if it's just everything is so heightened because of the fatigue. I sleep so much now. I mean, I sleep 9 hours a night, every night. I have really low blood pressure and need my sleep. Yeah. And for 11 years, I slept 4, 5, 6 hours. Like I was just so underwater in terms of fatigue. I remember feeling almost like drunk on fatigue. And so I would cry at the drop of a hat. I would cry in the Olympics. I would cry in a Volvo commercial. It was just so, and I never cry now. I mean, sometimes I'm not like made of stone. I'll watch a sad movie and cry, but I don't feel that same thing that I had as a young mother. And that's why my heart really went out to the young mothers during COVID, because I don't know how they did it without their parents there or classes or a community, because I had all those things and it was still hard. Yeah. But that was, that 4 years I did have that sustained struggle. And then honestly, the kids got older and were launched into school, and it became more Tetris than feeling like it was raining on top of me. It was just more managing their schedules and stuff like that. But motherhood can definitely come at you in a way where you feel like you don't know how to, as soon as you can catch your breath, there's another wave of something else. So that was a hard time. I feel like middle age, a lot of my friends are struggling, and I feel very lucky because I'm not. I think a lot of it is that I don't get that stressed out about aging, because if you said right now, here's a DeLorean time machine and you could go back and be 25 and have no wrinkles, I would say no fucking way. I'm so much happier at 48 than 25.
Yeah.
My personality, I think, is more wired for certainty and knowing what's happening. I hate question marks and the mystery of the future. I didn't know if I'd be a mom. I didn't know if I would be working. I didn't know so much about my life. And to be where I am now, I just feel so happy. Like, I definitely love my life, and I did not love it at 25.
What would you tell younger Jill in regards to her mental health?
I would say to younger Jill, I mean, I guess this is cheating. I would say, like, everything works out. Like, everything's gonna be fine. You have a fabulous husband. Everything is gonna work out. I think my biggest source of mental health, like anxiety at 25, actually, no, I met Harry at 20. No, I met him at 26. At 25, I thought I was gonna be alone forever and that I was gonna be a spinster. It's so weird. I just had like a very antiquated notion because my mother was Orthodox and grew up in a community where it was normal to get married at 21, which she did. I felt like behind at 25, which is so weird and bizarre now.
Right.
But at the time, I remember thinking, I'm going to die alone.
Oh.
So I would tell young Jill, I mean, I guess we all die alone in some capacity, but I would tell young Jill, like, not to worry. Cut to, like, a nuke from Russia falls on this house and we all die. Just kidding. There's always something to worry about.